What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. Welcome to another episode of Morning Cuppa Hockey presented by Bet365. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So use our code NATION, NATION, in all caps. Across from me is Colby Cohen. I'm Johnny Lazarus. We have a great show for you today with the Captain America hockey legend, Mike Eruzione, Boston University legend, Mike Eruzione. I will definitely let Colby intro him into the show because I cannot do him justice. Then we'll have Pat Maroon joining for the second half of the show. And Colby, I'm wondering if you saw Jeff Merrick's comment in the chat already saying this is going to be great today unless Johnny drives it into the ditch. So I'm letting you take full control of the steering wheel with this one, and I will ride your coattails with the legendary Mike Eruzione because it's awesome to have him on here. And, you know, obviously we're super pumped to have him.
I mean, look, anytime someone like Mike Eruzione agrees to come on a show, you know it's going to be a good day. And there's just so many places you can go.
Yeah.
And you know, with him, because, you know, obviously everybody's seen the movie and everybody knows the story, but there are so many intricacies of how Mike ends up in that place in Lake Placid, scoring that goal. Now, obviously, he's a living legend. And I want to spend some time kind of getting into the early days because there's so many stories that I read in his book, The Making of a Miracle, that I had no idea about. And I've known Mike for years. Like, Mike is such an available human being. He was always around when I was in school. He was the friendliest guy to walk by before a game, after a game, on a practice day. So, you know, when I'm reading his book and I'm learning about it, there's just all these things. Like, I'm sitting there like laughing and giggling and smiling, like reading through the first, 75, 80 pages, which I read in my one sitting. I couldn't put it down. And so I can't wait to ask him about these things today. And I'm, sure you have some goofy things you want to ask him about.
Yeah, I have a couple of goofy ones, but, I wouldn't be me if I didn't ask a couple of goofy ones. But I think we shouldn't waste any time. We should get right to them, right? So let me give a quick word from our sponsor, Proraso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Proraso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Proraso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps. Hockey15. Colby, I'm handing it off to you. Welcome in Mike Eruzione because I don't want to mess anything up.
All right. Well, Kyle, Andy, why don't you bring him in and we'll get right to it and get an opportunity to talk to Rizzo. So we'll start with my favorite part of it and just say good morning to you and how are you, man? I really appreciate you coming on.
I'm good. Thanks you. Thanks for having me on this lovely winter day.
Yeah, right. Well, last time I texted you, you were in Hawaii. So welcome back to the East Coast. There's some snow and some rain for you just about every day, right?
Yeah, that's what I heard. So it's nice to be home. I get to see the grandkids a little. It was a nice trip and back to reality.
Yeah. Well, I want to dive right in, Rizzo. And, I was talking a little bit about the book before we logged you in and again, everybody knows what they've seen on TV, but so many people have so many questions and there's so much that happened leading up to that 1980 miracle that you were a part of. And I know you talk about this stuff in the early chapters of the book, but it was all really new information for me. And obviously we don't want to give everything away because we would love people to go and read the book and check this out. And I could tell you won't be disappointed. You won't want to put it down. But Rizzo, like, how did you end up at BU? Because it is a crazy, wild story. Because if this one chance of a day doesn't happen, we're probably not sitting here talking to you right now.
Yeah, it's funny how life works, isn't it? I always tell people life's about opportunities. And when you get the opportunity, you make the best of that opportunity. But, when I was growing up here in Winthrop, I was a football, hockey, baseball player and probably played more baseball than anything. And I wanted to go to the University of New Hampshire.
Wow.
My grades weren't really great coming out of Winthrop High, so I thought a PG year would be good for me. I ended up going to a school in Maine called Berwick Academy, interestingly coached by a guy named Pop Whalen, who played at Boston University back in the way day. So I go to Berwick Academy with the hope of going to the University of New Hampshire. And the football coach really liked me. The baseball coach really liked me. The hockey coach didn't quite think I was a Division I player. And I had all my eggs in one basket. I mean, how can, UNH not want me? And I had no school to go to.
Mhm.
And the only school that really talked to me about hockey was Merrimack College, and they were Division III at the time. So I accepted a scholarship to go to Merrimack, and you guys would get a kick. It was like $3,500 my freshman year. They gave me a full scholarship, and I accepted the scholarship, and I'm going to go on my way to Merrimack. And in the summertime, I played baseball in the summer. I didn't play hockey in the summer. And I got a call from a friend of mine. There was a summer league game, and I'm almost 100% sure it was at Billerica Forum. Jack Parker disagrees with me, but I know I'm right on this one. And I played in the game, and when the game was over, this referee came over to me, and I guess his name was Jack Parker. I didn't know who Jack Parker was. I didn't know who the referee was. And he asked me where I was going to school, and I said I was going to Merrimack. And he said, "Where were you last year?" I said, "I went to Berwick Academy." He goes, "Oh, you played under Pop Whalen?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, we have a kid from Canada decided not to come. Would you like to come to Boston University?" And I'm like, "Boston, really?" And BU's coming off pretty much back-to-back national championships, and they were, and still are, a powerhouse in hockey. And I said, "Let me talk to my dad." I went home and I said, "Dad, Mr. Parker, who's an assistant at BU, offered me a full scholarship to Boston University."
Wow.
He goes, what do you think?" And I said, "I can play there." I said, "I'm going to go." So I got in my car the next morning, drove over to BU, sat with Coach Parker, and accepted the scholarship to go to Boston University. Now, Jack's the assistant coach, not the head coach. Leon Abbott was the head coach, and Leon was a great guy. And, I made the varsity as a freshman, and I wasn't playing a lot. We didn't play many games at that point early in the year. And Leon Abbott got fired. Jack Parker became the head coach at Boston University. So I went from centering the fourth line to playing left wing on the second line and leading our team in goal scoring my freshman year. So again, if I never played in that summer league game, I never would have gone to Boston University. And clearly, if I didn't go to BU, there's no way I think my hockey career would have taken off the way it did, because I was fortunate to play with great players at BU, and obviously became a better player each year while I was there.
And Riz, like, I just want to ask you a follow-up with that, because, you talk a lot about sports specialization in the book, and how, you were a baseball player, which you clearly stated was your first love almost when you were young. Like, what were the odds that you would have even played a summer league game in Billerica? Like, is that something you normally did in the summer? Because I feel like, from what you've told me in the past and what I read, like, your hockey equipment got stored, once the sun came up, and then you saw it again later in the summer. There was no training back then.
No, the summer leagues were starting to kind of get going then. Although while I was at BU, then once I was at BU, you'd play in the summer because you wanted to stay in shape and get ready for the season. But when I was in high school and things like that, you played sports. That's what you did. You went out and played. I might shoot pucks in the backyard and do things like that when I was playing hockey. When I was bored, remember, there were no video games. There was none stuff that was going on now. My mother would throw me out of the house and say, "Go play," and go play meant play football, play basketball, play baseball, shoot pucks in the backyard, things like that. Stay active, and because I was hyperactive as a kid. I think my dad used to say I was a pain in the ass, but now now you're hyperactive. So yeah, it was just the way things were. That's how you grew up in a small town, and kids played out in the street, and you did things like that. And those little games and those stupid little things you did, again, look back, and I think it made me a better hockey player.
To me, Rizzo, it's so funny because we don't joke all the time, but it's definitely been brought up a few times on the show that Colby always says, people who go to UNH are the ones who just weren't good enough to go to BU. And it sounds like your story is kind of the opposite. We joked with James Van Riemsdyk also because he picked UNH over other schools.
Well, because we didn't have a scholarship for him. We wanted to go to BU, but we took Colin Wilson instead.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, Merrimack had some great players. Bobby Miller was there. Ralph Cox was a freshman, I think, when I was up at BU. UNH had some wild, great programs and great players, but for whatever reason, Coach Holt, who was a great coach and a legend, just didn't see me fitting into their program, which happens, but happened the best for me.
Yeah, but it also seems like that's where all your humility comes from. And I think that's how they, tried to perceive you in the movie too, right? Like that first scene where we're introduced to Mike Eruzione, pretty much they're saying, don't even give that guy a shot. Like there's no way he's making this team. And that just sounds like your entire upbringing. And that's, I guess, why you're in the position you are today. You've been so humble throughout your entire career. And I actually want to tell a quick story. Like I'll make a long story a short one because I got to experience it. I don't know if you remember this. There's no way you remember me, but 8 years ago, I was having dinner with my grandparents at the Fox Hollow in Syosset on Long Island. It was the same weekend as the Clark Gillies golf outing. So my mom, I recognized Ron Duguay, a couple different hockey players at the bar. Yeah. My mom goes, go grab a beer and just start talking to them. So I sit down next to you without even recognizing who you are. I asked for a Bud Light. I just started talking to you about hockey. I was going into my freshman year at UMass. You told me you work with BU and you played at BU. And then like 5 minutes into our conversation, you finally told me your last name. And I was like, holy shit, I'm having a beer with Mike Eruzione. I need to know. So I really appreciated that. It was a core memory.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I remember the Fox Hollow because I remember going there with Duguay, and I think Mario Lemieux might have been there. Maybe
so Mario walked in the room, and you were like, look who's walking in right now. And I was like, well, see you, Mike.
Yeah, we used to go to Clarkie's tournament. Still do, actually. Even though Clarkie's passed, he still has a golf tournament, and Mario's there, and Doogie's there, and a lot of people. That's funny. But I do remember the Fox Hollow and having a few beers there.
Yeah, no, it was awesome for me.
Well, so you're rolling along here at BU, Riz, and then and again, I learned a lot when I read your book, even though we've spent a lot of time together in the past, right? But you play in the World Championships in what 75 and 76. You make the World Championship team. You forego an opportunity to try to play in the Olympics in 76. And so you fast forward to when the movie starts, because that's really where so many people learn somewhat of the history of this is when that movie starts. You guys are going to try out for the Olympics in 80, right? Herb Brooks is the coach. You guys had just had that brawl with them in Denver where all that juice for the movie starts, right? Was there a concern for you and for Jimmy Craig and OC? Did you guys think you had any chance to actually make this Olympic team with Herb Brooks at the helm?
Well, I think you always believe you can make any team that you try out for, but we always wondered. And the history of the U.S. hockey program at that point, a lot of times if Eastern coach, Eastern players, Western coach, Western players, because they knew the players, they played against them. So that's always a concern. In my case, it was the same thing. Oh, here we go. Herb's going to take a lot of Minnesota kids, which he did, and deservingly so. But you hope you get a fair chance and a fair opportunity. And I get invited to the Olympic Festival. I wasn't even on Team Massachusetts. I was on the Great Lakes team. I was on the at-large team. But I think that might have been a good thing for me because I wasn't playing with all the Boston guys. I kind of had my own identity to some degree. And I was actually the captain of the team at the Great Lakes it used to be the sports festival. And I was a captain of that team, and our team won the gold medal at the festival. And I led the team in scoring. So I think, the way I played in the tryout, I felt there was no way he could not at least make me part of the 26. Mm-hmm. Then once I was part of the 26, then you got to earn your spot because 6 guys were going to get cut throughout the course of the season. But now you got 6 months to prove yourself that you belong on the team. And even when I was elected captain, Herb still threatened to cut me. And that was just the way he coached. And I'm like, what? He can't cut the captain. I'm thinking this guy would.
Yeah.
We were still under a microscope, but fortunately I was one of the 20.
So was that part of the movie where they played on Herb's personality, the way he leaned on you guys, the scene where Jack O'Callahan just smashes Rob McClanahan in practice, and it's the old BU Minnesota, and then even fast forward to during the tournament when Herb is calling OC a candy ass and all these things. How accurate would you say the movie is? Obviously, there's the one scene that everybody wants to know about, the skating scene. I'm Mike Eruzione from Team USA. Did they stay pretty close to how it happened, or where was the veer into non-fiction or fiction?
Well, Herb was in the movie. First of all, Kurt Russell was amazing. I mean, it was eerie watching him. He was brilliant as Herb Brooks. He was friendlier in the movie. They softened Herb up in the movie.
Wow.
Herb's wife's in the movie a lot, and I don't remember seeing Patty at once during the year.
Mhm.
So, and I tell people, Herb was no different than Jack. That's how
Right.
coaches coached in the 70s. You deal with it. What are you going to do? Quit? You can yell at me all you want. That's only 2 hours of practice time. Then I'm out of there, and I'm going to go with the guys, and we're going to, kind of go out and do what we want to do. But Herb was a great coach. One of the things I talk about a lot, even in public, as I have so much respect for Jack Parker, as you can imagine. If it wasn't for Jack, I wouldn't be where I am. But the great thing about Jack and Herb is we respected him and we trusted him. And if you don't respect your coach and if you don't trust your coach, you're in trouble. And same thing with your teammates. If you don't respect and trust your teammates, you're in trouble. And that was a kind of a thing that we carried throughout the year. We respected Herb and we trusted Herb. He's in charge, guys. And whatever he says, we're going to do. And he did challenge us. Every single day there was a challenge. And we did skate in Norway. I'd like to say I said Mike Eruzione, United States of America. Yeah. Great line. But only 16 of us dressed that night in Norway. And Buzzy Schneider got thrown out for fighting. So there were 15 of us left. When the game ended, we skated off the ice. The game ended, I think it was a 3-3 tie or 4-4 tie. And Herb proceeded to put us through what the drills we called Herbies, suicides, gassers, whatever you called them when you played. And we did them for 15 minutes, 5 guys at a time. Then we'd stretch. Then we'd do them again. Then we stretched. Then we did them again. Then we stretched. Then we did them again. And we stretched. And we did it for about an hour and a half, an hour and 15 minutes. They shut the lights off in the building. And while we were doing these, guys were smashing their stick against the boards because we were pissed off. And then Mark Johnson smashed the stick against the glass. And I remember Herb saying, if I hear another stick break against the glass, you'll skate till you die. Well, nobody said a word. And we finished the drills. We went back in the locker room. And we had to play Norway the next day. And he said, if you play this way again, you're going to skate again. Well, we went 8-0 the next day. So those suicides or Herbies, we that was pretty much part of our practice every game. Every time we practiced, we would never do an hour and a half of them. But I'm going to give you a statistic that you probably never even saw. In the third period of the Olympics, we outscored our opponents 15-3.
Wow.
That's incredible number.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that just showed, and every one of my teammates, if you ask them today, the best shape they were ever in their careers, and a lot of guys went on and played in the National Hockey League for a long time. That's a pretty good statement to make. And I think those drills and that skating and what we did created an atmosphere where come third period, you don't want to play against us. And I think clearly that showed in the third period of the Soviet game, even though if you watch the movie, it's like we weren't even out on the ice against them. It was just save, save, save. But in the last 10 minutes of the Soviet game, I put us up 4-3. I think the Soviets had 6 shots on goal.
Wow. That's shutdown D. That's like the Barry Trotz system right there in modern day hockey.
And, clearly, I know I'm maybe getting ahead of myself, but clearly we didn't suck. We were pretty good. And our hockey team in 1980 would be the youngest hockey team in college hockey today. Our average age was 21 and a half, I think 22.
There's one thing you said, though, just now that I've never heard before, in all this. Buzz Schneider getting ejected from that game. Was he forced to sit there and watch you guys skate, or did he get suited back up and skate with you guys?
No, all the guys who were in the stands watching went to get – they thought we were going to have a practice after the game, and Herb said, no, you just sit and watch.
They watched. Oh, that's worse than actually skating. Oh, my God. They sat there and watched that whole thing happen?
And Buzz Schneider, I met – and I think I've told you this before, Riz, but I was in Lake Placid 10 years ago broadcasting the ECAC tournament. Obviously for Hockey East, we do it at the Garden. ECAC does it in Lake Placid. I don't actually know if they still do, and I met Buzz Schneider. I was sitting at a bar at the hotel I was staying at eating. He looked at me and he goes, "You look like a hockey player." And we got to talking, and we started exchanging stories and whatever. I mean, what a sweetheart of a guy to be around. I mean, I love that you brought his name up.
Yeah, Buzzy and I played together in 2 of those world championships, and I became very close friends with Buzzy and his wife, Gail, who's very friendly with my wife, Donna. And Buzzy played in Milwaukee when I was playing in Toledo. But I remember we're at a side story here. We're at the tryouts in Lake Placid, in Colorado Springs. And practice was over, and Buzzy and I would go out to this little bar across the street from the training center and would have a few beers, and we're sitting there, and we got the roster of all the players who were at camp. And we're looking at the left wings, and we're going, he's not going to make it, he's not going to make it, he's not going to make it. So we narrowed it down to 5 left wings, and it was Buzzy and I were 2 of them. And I looked at Buzzy, and I said, hey, Buzz, one of us isn't going to be in this team unless Herb moves one of these left wings to the right side. And as it turned out, we both ended up on the team, and obviously kind of a great story between Buzzy and I.
Do you remember who from the list that you thought would make it didn't, or that's I'm going back
I don't. Well, I thought McClanahan right away would make it. Robbie was a great player at the University of Minnesota, and I thought Fracoda would be there as well. You know, again, good player at University of Minnesota, and I don't remember the other names of the other players, but.
Fair.
That was 45 years ago, Colby.
I know, but you do remember a lot of things. Like I've asked you some stuff, and you're able to go back pretty far. So I'll give you some credit.
I deal with it quite a bit in day-to-day activities sometimes.
So Rizzo, a lot of people associate you're the underdog, your team is the underdog, ultimate underdog story. You're the captain. Like when I think of that 1980 team, I think Mike Eruzione. I think of the moment in the movie, Winthrop, Massachusetts, played for Team USA. But my question, and I've actually been dying to ask you this one, who else would have worn that C if it weren't for you? I feel like for the people who read the book, watch the movie, Mike Eruzione is who we associate as the leader of that team. But if you were handing off the captaincy to somebody else, like who's someone that didn't get the shine that maybe should have?
Well, it's interesting. I've always said, and I still maintain, I was the captain amongst captains. And I say that by this. Buzzy Schneider was a captain at Minnesota. Billy Baker was a captain at Minnesota. Jack O'Callahan was a 2-time captain at Boston University. Mark Johnson and Bob Suter were captains at Wisconsin. John Harrington and Mark Pavlich were captains at Minnesota Duluth. Mark Wells and Kenny Murray were captains at the Bowling Green. Neil Broughton, Davey Christian, Mike Ramsey were captains of the high school teams. So I was a captain amongst captains. Mark Johnson was our best player. We don't win without Mark Johnson. As great as everybody was, and we had some really good players, if it wasn't for Mark, we don't win in Lake Placid. Check the stats, check the numbers, see the goals that he scored and when he scored them. But when you're in a room of leaders and a room of captains, for me as the captain is just be who I am. You can't change. I see people, they climb the ladder and all of a sudden they're successful. And it's like, what happened to Bill? He was a nice guy. Oh, he's in charge now. So I think for me, when I was elected captain, the important thing was for me to be true to who I am as a person. And the important thing was that my teammates respected me on the ice and more importantly, respected me off the ice. Now we voted, the team voted. Mm-hmm. There's no way in hell 12 kids from Minnesota voted for Mike Eruzione. I knew that. There's no way. And as Craig Patrick, our assistant coach, used to say, you guys voted, but Herb counted the ballots. I got to believe Billy Baker was probably voted captain because of 9 kids that played at the University of Minnesota. Colby, if you were on a team and there were 9 kids from Boston University and you were going to pick a captain, you're going to pick the guy that you know. Exactly. And I think Herb created that in my mind, and I never talked about Herb about it because it wasn't a big deal, I think if he had a Minnesota kid as the captain, everybody went, oh, here we go again, Minnesota and Boston. Mm-hmm. So, that's what little subtle things that made Herb a great coach. And maybe he felt that I would understand that role and not be that guy of, okay, now look at this is how we do things. That's not my personality as it is anyway. And Billy was the assistant captain.
Well, as a captain, you have more of a responsibility to act sort of as that layer between the coaches and the players. So I'm curious, and this is actually not something that I had written down, but as I'm hearing you talk, what was the most difficult conversation you ever had to have with Herb Brooks? Because you mentioned how Jack, look, Coach Parker was the iron-fisted ruler. That was his name. I know I played for him in a different era. It's a little bit different, I would think. But when you think about your relationship with Herb Brooks and what he meant to this team, was there, friction or what was that most difficult conversation you maybe ever had with him?
Probably the most difficult was when he called me in, he threatened to cut me. And he said, you have been playing really well, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with you, but, the captain, and what I'll tell people is you hurt your back, and, I'll still bring you to Lake Placid. And I was like, really? And then I actually scored 3 goals. I scored 3 goals in the next game.
Wow. So that was on the table where he was willing to just say you're hurt. Wow.
Yeah, because the word quickly passed down, to the guys, and it was like, holy shit, if he's willing to cut Mike, we gotta pick this up a little. But again, that was Herb's way of sending a message to the team.
I wonder if
and he was
that would have actually happened. I can't imagine.
He had guys on the team that he knew he could scream and yell at and send a message to the rest of the team. He had his whipping boys. Phil Vercoda was a whipping boy. You don't yell at Mark Johnson. He'll figure it out. Don't yell at Kenny Morrow. He'll be fine. You can yell at O'Callahan. You can yell at Silk. You can yell at Eruzione. You can yell at McClanahan, because it's going to send a message. Hey, guys, we got to pick it up. Look, he's on us again. But another thing with our team, people might not know, is Craig Patrick, our assistant coach, was huge to our success, because when things were getting crazy, I'd go to Craig and say, hey, Craig, he's got to back off. He's got to just calm things down a little. And Craig would go sit with Herb and say, Herbie, this is what we got to start doing. So when you have that relationship with your assistant coach who's willing to step up for your team, again, that sends a message in the locker room that, hey, Craig, you got our back. Thanks. And I think Herb knew that too. I mean, Herb was very smart when it came to motivating a team and motivating players. Like the scene in the movie with McClanahan when Robbie got hurt. And that scene happened. Herb went right after him in the locker room.
Yeah.
He flipped the table over, and Robbie got up and went after Herb. Herb knew what to do. Herb knew how to motivate Robbie. Robbie had a great Olympics for us.
Yeah. So that's a scene that truly did happen.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Herb and Robbie went right after it. And I'm sitting in the locker room going, well, we've just played 1 period and Herb's already flipped out.
That is awesome. That's awesome.
I mean, it's so cool to hear you talk about it. Let me ask you this. How much were you involved with the movie? Like, how much did they lean on you? And did the characters lean on you guys? Because, I heard you talked about how good, Kurt Russell was. And I would think, I got to witness it in my own life. And you and I have talked about the movie Molly's Game. And I got to watch Jessica Chastain play my first cousin. And it was eerie, like you said. Yeah. It was like, oh my God, she does her facial expressions. It was incredible. Right. So did they bring you guys in and lean on you guys for that movie?
No, I had nothing to do with the movie. And I didn't want to have anything to do with the movie, because if I was involved with the movie and all of a sudden my role was different or bigger, and all of a sudden the guys would go, hey, you didn't do that. Oh, you were an advisor, so no wonder why you did that.
Oh, yeah.
So I stayed away from the movie. I did get to meet the kid that played me, Patrick Dempsey, who was from Danvers, Mass. Patrick actually came and skated with the high school team when I was coaching at the high school.
No way.
So Patrick showed up at practice one day, and he's skating around, and all the kids are wondering, who's this guy? So practice was over, and we were all in a big circle, and my son Michael and my son Paul were on the high school team at the time. And I said, hey, guys, I want to introduce you to someone. I said, Michael, Paul, I want you to meet your father. And they kind of looked at me, and I went, this is the guy that's going to play me in the movie Miracle. And Patrick was great. I stay in touch with him on occasion. But I thought he did a good job. I thought in the movie maybe I was a little quieter, a little more deer in the headlights sometimes. I'd look and go, I wouldn't react that way. But, the movie's the movie. But nobody, I think Jack O'Callahan might have had a little something to do with the movie. I think he talked to the producers and directors a little more than anybody else did. But that's Jack's personality anyway. So when the team watched the movie, Kenny Morrow was a great defenseman. I mean, he went from the Olympics to 4 straight Stanley Cups. Mm-hmm. And we're in the theater in LA, the premiere. We all got our family, got my kids. The other guys have their kids, and they were all really young at the time. We're watching the movie, and Kenny Morrow was the quietest person you would ever want to be around. He just went out and played hockey. Halfway through the movie, Kenny's in the theater, and he stands up and he goes, hey, was I even on this bleeping team? And we just about lost it in the theater. So, again, when we watched the movie, Harrington played better in the movie than he did during the Olympics. And Jimmy made a lot of saves, but he didn't make that many saves. Our poor defensemen felt like they weren't even on the ice when you watch the movie, because it was like all they were doing was peppering Jim, and they did quite a few times.
Don't tell Jimmy that, though. He may say no, I made all those saves in real life. If you ask Jimmy, he may say that, as you know well, Riz.
We won't get into that.
That line, though, that's still my favorite. You just let in 10, Jim. It's everybody's net. After the first time you guys played the Soviets, that's like one of my favorite lines. Mike, if we can hold you for like 5 more minutes.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's snowing out.
Okay, perfect. Because we got Pat Maroon.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt him.
No. He wants to join because he wants to talk to you as well. So
I haven't seen him too. I haven't seen him in a while. He's a good man. He's a big good man.
Yeah, so we're gonna bring in Pat. I'm gonna ask you one more. What's up? You say great?
No, I said that's great. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So we'll bring in Pat to the show right now. I'm going to ask you a question, though, just to kind of lead it in. And, this is something that, again, like the game against the Soviets gets all the shine, right? But you guys were down against Finland in the gold medal game. And I feel like not many people know the story from that game. And I don't know how you guys could have, flipped your mentality after what was probably the biggest celebration and biggest emotional win of your life to then go on and try to come back again against Finland. So what was that locker room like prior to that game and then when you guys were down?
Well, we beat the Soviets Friday night, and we have practice Saturday morning, and we show up at the rink, and we're as high as you can be, and we're signing pictures and signing hockey sticks, and Herb comes in and flips out. Who the hell do you think you guys are? So you had a big win. He gives us big spiel. Out on the ice we go. It might have been the second hardest practice we had all year. And I'm like, why is he so pissed off? We just beat the Soviets. He had to get us back down to earth, get all that energy, all that excitement out of us, and get us ready to play the next day. And I told Herb years later, Herb, we were ready to play Finland. You didn't have to skate us that hard on Saturday. So we're losing 2-1 going into the third period. And I remember Jack O'Callahan was walking around that locker room, and he must have said it 100 times. There's no way a bunch of effing Finns are going to beat us. And he's walking around. All of a sudden, Herb walks in the locker room, and you saw the scene in the HBO documentary, I think. It wasn't in the movie. And he points his finger, and he says, if you lose this game, he'll take you to your effing grave. And he walks out. He stops at the door, and he points his finger, and he says, your effing grave. And he walked out. We got up. Out on the ice we went. Dominated the third, as we did throughout the game. Scored the 3 goals. We win 4-2. So, again, Herb, brilliant at knowing what he was going to do. And I told him, I said, Herb, after we beat Finland, if there was another game to play, we'd have shown up. That was the team. That was the type of players that I played with. They just love playing. We love being together. We loved the opportunity that we were having, the camaraderie, the love, the respect that we have even to this day. That's the team you want to be on. And I say this all the time, too, and you mentioned it. Guess what? If we don't beat Finland, you and I aren't having this conversation.
Yeah, that's what I was saying to Colby before the show.
Yeah, please welcome Mike. He was in the Olympics. Geez, if he only could have beat Finland. So I think that's what I take more great pride in my teammates is how we responded. The biggest game. This was the biggest game of our lives. I mean, the Soviet game was big, but this was far bigger in terms of what it was going to mean to us as a team.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Pat, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know you're coming in hot right now.
Hey, Pat, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a while.
It's been a long time. Yeah, those are some great stories. I was listening towards the end. I mean, it must have been a pretty special moment for you and your teammates here. I mean, I can only imagine. Obviously, like you said, the movie kind of fabricates a little bit of like you guys, defending a lot, and like you said, Craig making saves, but. Obviously, as a young kid watching that movie, it still gives me chills. I still remember my dad. They used to have your plaque, and you used to press the button, and it used to go 10, 9, 8, and we used to have it in my room. So, I mean, obviously, I wasn't born for that time, but listening to stories from my dad, watching the game, and what you guys achieved, and how you guys came together as a group and the ups and downs. And it was for me, it's a real moment watching you guys, and special.
Well, you've had a pretty good career yourself, my friend. And you've got some great stories about Stanley Cups, but I guess when when you're a part of a great team, great things usually happen, and we were fortunate to have it happen for us.
Absolutely.
Well, and look, I'm curious too, because you guys have both played in world championships, the senior men's world championships at such different times. Mike, you were playing in the mid 70s. Patty, you played just a couple of years ago, right? In the world championship. So I'm curious for you, Riz, like, what is your feeling on, should it be the NHL? Should it be college players? Should it be a mix? And then, for Patty, I know you weren't a college guy, and now you would have gone from the CHL to college and then on to the NHL if the rules were the way that they were. But I'll start with you here, Rizzo. Like, what do you think about the way it's all kind of done now? With USA Hockey, but using the National Hockey League players.
I remember when I got that question right when it first started. And I forget who the player I was talking to, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I said, look, you playing for, and I know it was Brooks Orpik. And I said, Brooks, you're playing against Sidney Crosby. I said, you guys play together in Pittsburgh. Sidney's coming down the ice, and you got a chance to hit him. Are you going to hit him? He goes, absolutely. Yeah. He says, absolutely. This is a whole different thing. We'll settle our differences later. We're playing for our country. And when I heard that, it convinced me even more that the best should be playing against the best. It's the days of the college kid coming in and beating those teams. That's not going to happen. Our situation. Let it go. It was 45 years ago. The skill level of the players today, from other countries as well, not just the United States and Canada. Every country's gotten better and better and better. I want to see the best play against the best. I want our best Americans to play against the best, Russians, the Czechs, the Swedes, the Finns, the Canadians. I think it would be great for the sport of hockey. Every sport that's out there, the World Cup, soccer, basketball, the best play against the best. And I think it would be the best tournament in the world. When our basketball players compete, boy, it's they get upset. That's pretty big upset, although the European teams are getting better. Soccer, if the U.S. can win something like that, that would be a big upset for the United States. But other countries are just a little better. But in hockey, you got to beat the Finns, you got to beat the Swedes. And let's just forget Canada and the United States. They're always going to be there. But Switzerland is better than they were. Germany's better than they were. Poland can beat you now. So the growth of the game and the skill level of other countries, I want to see. I want to see Sidney against Crosby against Austin Matthews. I want to see Eichel on the ice against these great Russian players. Although the Russians won't be at the Four Nations Cup, hopefully they'll be back at the next Olympic Games. So that's my feeling on it.
It doesn't sound like they will, unfortunately, and I think that's a huge miss for hockey and hockey fans, because obviously some of the greatest players in the world come from there. But Pat, you've played in it as an NHLer. Have you played in more than one? You have, right? Or just one?
No, I've only played in one.
Okay, so what was that experience like for you? I mean, getting that opportunity, but doing it with the best in the world as pros.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Honestly, anytime, like Riz said, I think just representing your country, putting the jersey, the USA jersey on your back. I mean, having that representation of, representing your country and being a part of a good group. We were fortunate enough to have a really young group. We had a lot of college kids actually come in after their season. We had Austin Matthews come in after his, I don't know where he's playing at the time.
Switzerland.
Yeah. We had JT Comfort, Demko, Tyler Mott.
Yeah, that's cool.
Man, there were so many more, but it was cool because those kids got to experience the best on the best, right? So those guys came out of the gates right away. They haven't had an NHL game yet, but, they're coming in, to a higher environment, a good team, and we had good leadership with Matt Hendricks and Nick Foligno to kind of teach these guys. So the experience is great. We played in Russia that year. Unfortunately, we came out short. We lost to Canada in the semifinals. And it was one of those things where I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I'll ever get invited back, but I don't know if the big sheet's for me. But But no, I really enjoyed it. Anytime, like I said, you get to put the USA jersey on and represent your country, and it's a different feeling. It's a different vibe than putting on your jersey, obviously, than your regular jersey, like whoever team you're playing for. It's just you got so much pride. We love our country. It's the greatest country on earth. And you get the opportunity to represent. And I think that's awesome for me. And watching the World Juniors this year, watching those kids win. I mean, it's just awesome for the game. It's awesome for USA hockey. It's awesome to grow the game. And like Chris said, the game is just changing so much dramatically over the years that I don't think college kids can compete against these guys. These guys are too good. Finland's better, like you said. Germany's better, Poland's better. I mean, all these kids are coming out of the woodworks now that are just growing the game, and every country's getting better. And I think that's great for us. So,
I think Pat touched on it. I've said this many times. Other than in my opinion, being a police officer, a firefighter, or somebody in the military, putting a USA jersey on is the greatest feeling you can have. You're not playing for Boston. You're not playing for Pittsburgh. You're playing for your country. And I think that's what separates world championships, Olympic games, tournaments where you put the USA jersey on. It's so different than there is. And Pat touched on it. The pride representing your country is it's pretty special.
Yeah, it's like I remember my first game at the national team and getting any opportunity with U18s, U20s. I never got to do it at the senior level, Riz, but always such an amazing and special thing. Look, the last thing I want to hit on with you real quick before we let you go here, Rizzo, is the Four Nations tournament that's coming up. Like, we thought this was such a perfect time. Obviously I'd been reading the book that you wrote, and I could just tell everybody, if you're enjoying any of these stories you're getting from Rizzo today, go get this book, The Making of a Miracle. It's such an easy read. It's a page turner. You won't want to put it down. The stories are just unbelievable. Just the look through this whole event through Mike's eyes is incredible. But with the Four Nations coming up, are you involved at all? Like, what does the next week or two look like for you? Because I think there's probably some cool things coming down the pike.
Yeah, I'm going to head to Montreal on Monday. Billy Guerin called me and asked me if I'd fly up and have dinner with the team, which would be a great honor for me, because my 9-year-old grandson is so excited that I'm going to meet Austin Matthews, and I'm going to meet Brady Tkachuk, and I'm going to meet Matthew Tkachuk, and I'm going to meet Jack Eichel. And so he's like, Papa, really, can I go? So that tells you about how important this tournament is for young kids. They know it. They follow these players. So I'm excited about the opportunity to have dinner. I'm looking forward to meeting Austin Matthews. I've never met him, and I think he, in many ways, is somewhat the face. He's the captain of that team, so it'll be fun for me to meet him. And then I was asked to drop the puck at the game on Wednesday night, but I think I'll go to Florida instead and watch it. I do have a planned trip already ahead of time, so I'm not going to be able to do that. But I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a great tournament. I'm looking forward to watching it. And, Colby, thanks for, talking about the book. And I want to just one last thing. I wrote the book for one reason only. I didn't want to write a book because then you got to go to book signings and you got to travel around, do things. And I travel enough as it is. I wrote the book because I want my grandkids to know about their great-grandfather, their history, their family, their aunts, their uncles, their cousins. I come from a very close-knit family. I want my grandkids to know that Papa's life wasn't one game, one goal, one moment. And I think I brought that across in the book.
Definitely.
Life isn't about just one thing. You don't get somewhere because of one particular moment. And I want them to understand that. And that's why I wrote the book, and I'm glad I did.
Just to build off. Oh, sorry, Rizzo. Keep going.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, just my last thing was, is there one thing about that 1980 team that people don't know that you'd want them to know? Like the one thing.
I wasn't the best player. Mark Johnson was the best player. I might have been maybe the best teammate. But I think when you put teams together, everybody has a role and everybody has a job, and you accept your responsibility and what your job is. And, so I scored a big goal. Obviously, I tell people I scored 3. I had 5 assists. I had a good tournament. But my life wasn't just what happened in Lake Placid. I had a very successful college career. I firmly believe I played in an era where Americans and college players weren't given the opportunity like they're given today to play at the next level. And I think after the Olympics, that's kind of made my decision about let's just move on with life. And as my dad always said, there's more to life than athletics. And at some point the game ends. And last game I played in, we won. So the things that are important to me is that people remember me as a good person. I've met a lot of athletes and a lot of people over my life that are great people. I've met some that are just absolute idiots, but yet they're successful athletes. It doesn't make me better or different than anybody else. I'm fortunate to win a gold medal and be a part of a great team. But, there are a lot of people out there that can do a lot of things better than I can. I just happen to be part of a great moment, and I cherish that and believe things happen for a reason. And I was fortunate to be in the situation I was in. And when I look back on it, I scored and we won.
Yeah. Well, I look, I met you when I was 15 years old on my first ever visit to BU. You just so happened to be at Agganis Arena that day. And you all the things you just said is how you've carried yourself for, the 20 years that I've actually, had an opportunity to know you. So, thanks for coming on today. Super, super excited. I know our audience was really thrilled. I mean, our live chat was buzzing through. So, Riz, we appreciate everything you do for BU, for hockey, for USA Hockey. Enjoy Montreal and get those guys ready to go win some games and make us all proud. All right.
Thank you. I don't think there's anything I can say, but I appreciate. Thanks for having me on. And I'm actually heading over to BU now and watch practice. I think they're on the ice at 11.
All right, Patty, do you have something before he goes? I want to give you an opportunity.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously, great chat this morning. I love what you said. It's not about, one shift, one goal, one mind. That really hit home for me. You don't want to, for your kids, you just don't want to be lived in, like for me, like my son obviously watches me. He's 16 and my daughter's 3 now, but that kind of hit home for me. That's pretty cool. I'm actually going to go get the book now and get it on Amazon and buy it now because that was kind of cool. I like that little quote you said there. And it's not about that. Like you said, you're in an environment and you got put on good teams and good situations and everyone bought in at the same time and everyone knew their role. And, some people call it luck, but some people, it's the right moment, right time. And special moments like that come together.
Well, Pat, thank you very much. And as I've always told people, an athletic event shouldn't change who you are. It's really given me an opportunity to do things I never would have imagined I would do. But I'm still living in my hometown. I've been with my wife for almost 50 years. I got 7 grandkids, and life's pretty good, regardless if we won or lost. But
you have a good golf game in Florida.
I've heard you got a good golf game.
Nah, I used to. You know what? I move up a set of tees.
Hey,
I'm playing the senior tees now.
What tees you're on.
Yeah, I play the senior tees. It's awesome. But hey, guys, thanks for having me, Pat. I hope to see you somewhere down the road. Always a pleasure, my friend. Take care.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Rizzo.
Thanks,
bye,
Riz.
guys.
All right.
That was awesome. Thanks for hopping in, Pat.
I told you, like he's what you see is what you get with him. He's awesome. The only thing I have to disagree with is I scored one big goal in my life, and I've been riding the coattails of that goal ever since. I mean, it's pretty much got me every job I've ever had. So it's the one thing I got to disagree with Rizzo on is if you get a big goal like that, freaking ride that wave forever. Don't ever get off that gravy train.
Yeah, you're a legend in BU. You and Nick Bonino.
Yeah. Bones had a big one too, no doubt about that.
And Eric Gribo's on the back end. Jesus Christ.
him and David Warsofsky were a D pair, and then Brian Strait and Matt Gilroy were a D pair, and then Shaddy and I. So we had a good mix of different things on that team, and
for the after party was fun, eh?
It was as good as advertised, Patty. I can confirm. I don't have to deny. I can confirm the after party was great. I gotta say this to you though, and I hate to go there with you right away.
Oh no!
I texted Johnny right away last night, and I go, "Oh, Pat's going to be pissed. Like, I'm watching the game and Calvin Pickard, I'm like, oh no, like you just
Yeah, it's sorry.
It's all right.
No, you're good. Mommy's upstairs. Mommy's upstairs. Go.
Johnny and I were watching the Chicago game last night, and we were giving it back and forth.
But yeah,
Calvin's also a friend of the show.
I was disappointed a bit. I was kind of too tight to the net too, though. But Smitty made a heck of a play. I texted my line mates last night. I was like, sorry guys, I had a couple good chances last night to bury. That's why I have 2 goals right now. I can't score, but they say, hey, if you stop getting chances, that's when you have to stop worrying. That's when you start worrying. So I've been getting good looks. It's just, unfortunately they're not going in. And I actually like my game right now. I've been all over the puck. Our line mates, whoever's been inserted in our line, we've kind of been hovering around the puck and creating some chances, create energy. So unfortunately, it's a tough loss for us, but it's obviously, we came back. We fought hard last night. Just little breaks here and there that kind of still are shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit, which is it's frustrating because, if we want to grow this team and get better, we got to, kind of nip those things in the butt. But, we're learning every day. I'm proud of the guys. It's not where we want to be. We thought for sure we'd be 500 right now. And it sucks because, we have the leadership in the group and, we have some players, but we have guys that compete every day in the lineup that, gives us a chance. So it's not like we're getting blown out. Obviously, the Florida game was kind of tough for us, but we sit there and compete with everyone every night. And that's the most important thing, right? But obviously, in this league, it's all about wins and losses. And if you're not winning, that's not good.
Patty, what's your maybe concern's not the right word, but are you thinking about the trade deadline at all? Like, and I'm not, obviously, we've known each other forever. Like, I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. It's actually a compliment. But like, if I'm a playoff team and I'm looking for a winner who can come in and basically play anywhere in your lineup group, like, you're attractive to me. And you're at this point of your career where you've won a lot. You've got family and young kids. Like, does it weigh on your mind at all with that coming up, or you just do everything in your power to compartmentalize?
Yeah, it weighs on me for sure. I mean, my wife's pregnant now, and it's tough because she's due in April.
She's got her doctor picked out, obviously.
So we're delivering the baby in Chicago, so all that stuff kind of you think about. And for me personally, do I really want to pick up my family and leave? I don't know. I have to ask myself that. I ask myself that 1,000 times. I don't know where my career is going to go from here. I love the game of hockey. This is all I've known my whole life, and I'll play as long as I can, right? So I think the biggest thing for me is, just sticking Chicago Blackhawks as my team. I just got to go out there and compete every single night and, help my teammates, help the young guys as much as I can, help build a culture in this locker room as best I can, and, help Fliggy and, Marty and, these guys that are in the room that have been in there, and, Smitty and Dickinson. So, we got to help the guys that are, that are going to be there long-term, like a Betsy and a Vlasic that are probably going to take over the team, right? So, wherever, I don't know what's going to happen, but whatever lands on the situation, I'm happy either way. Would I like to go to a contender? Yeah, for sure. But would I like to stay here and help and continue to help grow this locker room and grow this organization, to grow this team to get to the next step? Absolutely, I would. So, I mean, whatever, that's up to the management. That's not up to me. Whatever they decide on, I'm happy to do both, right? So, I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, obviously I want to go, but no, I mean, both are very attractive to me because, with obviously family and moving again and delivering a baby, that stuff is hard. That weighs on you, and it's not even me. It's her. Like
Yeah.
she's gonna have to be dealing with it, not me. Right? I'm gonna be going off doing my job, so I don't want that. I mean, that's a lot of stress on you guys know the wives, and it's tough. And do you really want to put that on them? So you second guess that a little bit, but Francesca has my back. She's my biggest supporter. So whatever lands and happens, that's she'll be there supporting me. So I'm just going to take it day by day, and whatever happens. I'm out of control on this one. So like I said, though, they're both really attractive, but I also like being here. Love the team. I love the guys in the room, and it's just a matter of me continue to help grow the young guys game, and playing the right way, and find a way to keep understanding how to play the right way every single night. And I think that's the biggest thing, and I take pride in that.
We actually have a question from Zach Anderson in our chat saying, and this is about players in general, not even about you. Do players generally move their whole family if they get traded at the deadline? I was under the impression that if it's a deadline rental deal, most of the time the player just goes and the family stays behind.
It depends. I think most of them go.
Most of them go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the whole family goes. Every time I've seen a deadline trade or that's been on my teams or I got traded, my family has came with me. So I think family's important. It's not right away. Don't get me wrong. Like Francesca and Goalie didn't come for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks until after I got traded
to Boston.
So it's not like a quick transition. No, absolutely not. But they eventually make it there, right? Because obviously they want to be there. They want to be there for the playoffs. They want to be there for the support. So, so your answer is yes. Most of them, I would say everyone I've played with, yes, they go and they find a place and they move their kids in. I think that's the players go first. They find a place, make sure it's comfortable for the family, and then the family ends up coming down. So, but it's also different for guys too, like guys that are on long-term deals that, like JT Miller, he's going back home and he still has a lot of years left. I'm sure he's trying to find a house now. So it's completely different. So I'm sure his family's going to wait until he buys a house until they get everything over to the house and they'll move in, right? So it's an easy transition. So for me, I just try to find a rental place that, that's month to month, get my family in there, and then, you're ready to rock. So moving sucks. It's the worst thing in history of hockey, I think. I think people don't realize that, like, we're humans too. It's a lot of stress. We have families too. It's a lot of stress that goes with it. And I think people forget about that. Like, moving cities, going to a new team, trying to find a new place. Your family's back home. You don't get to see them for a long time. So there's so much more that goes into it. Obviously, when you put your skates on, everything blocks out. But there's so much more that goes into a deadline trade than just going and putting your skates on and playing for a new team.
Yeah, I moved myself from Brooklyn to fucking Manhattan, and I was pissed. Like, I can't imagine.
Well, listen, it doesn't matter how much money you make. Like, you still have to pack up all your clothes. You still have to go to Home Depot and buy boxes. Like, there's still things that it doesn't matter what your job is or how much you make that are just human things that suck. Like doing all that stuff, packing, unpacking, hiring a moving company. Like, even if you have people who help you with these things, which, a lot of teams, well, not a lot, every team does. Some players have personal concierge services that happen for them, but there's still the human side of it, as Pat's saying. So look, I know it's a difficult question because you're playing on a team. So I do appreciate how candid of an answer that you're willing to go into us with. I'm going to ask you another thing about last night, because we're watching the broadcast last night on TNT, and they weren't so kind to Connor Bedard. They spent a chunk of time showing video of him during the game and saying he was out there playing pond hockey. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it yet or not, Patty. I'm wondering, for you as a leader, as a rock, as a pillar for a lot of these guys, do you address those types of things with a young guy? Like we all have heard so much about your tutelage of Lucas Reichel this year, and I'm curious, like, how do you tackle a situation when a kid is taking a beating publicly in the media? Like they went for him last night, and I thought a lot of it was fair. Like they had video to back it up, and maybe you haven't seen it or haven't heard it. I don't know.
No, I did. There's obviously ESPN did a take on him too. Like, listen, he's my teammate. I'm gonna stick up for him. He's 19 years old. He's still going through it. He's still young. There's so many more things, on video. You guys know, on video, anything looks like shit, right?
Frame by
narrate
frame.
it however you want.
You can narrate it how you want it. Even when we do video today, when we go into the rink today, we're gonna look like shit on some plays. And listen, we as players say, well, I saw that play. I thought that play was there. Listen, that's okay. Like, you got to be a man and kind of grab your whats and just say, yeah, I'm soaking this one, right? But again, like, man, he's 19. I think it's hard for him because, listen, he's trying to take charge. He's trying to make plays and try to change the game. He's trying to be that difference maker, right? And I think when a kid, Connor went through it, Leon went through it, they all went through it, McKinnon went through it. You got to go through the dark days before you get to the top. And he's going through those times right now. And yes, is he going to be, a 100-point guy in this league? Absolutely he is. It takes time to get a player, not, I'm sure, what's a good word? Like, to maybe make a simpler play.
Yeah.
Maybe, risk a shift to get it in. You know what I mean? That takes time. It's not like players come to that are get like as gifted as these players are, like, and how gifted Connor is. Like, he's trying to make hockey plays. He's trying to make a difference, and that's the biggest difference I see. But as like Fliggy and me and myself, yes, obviously we call it out if it's not Connor, if it's not Reichel or whoever it is, Kerr, even ourselves, we call ourselves out. Like, listen, we know we turn it over, bad play, get the puck in next time. That's holding each other accountable. You have to say those things because then we'll never learn, or we're never going to grow. Because I think Hank kind of nailed it, man. Like, if you listen to Hank's take, he's not pushing for playoffs. Like, we're not in a spot where we're pushing or we're chasing a spot in the playoffs. We're not playing meaningful games.
Yeah.
And now let me tell you this. It's a completely different animal when you're playing those meaningful games and you're playing down the stretch in the playoffs, because you'll sacrifice one shift, one play to supporting casts, to do it for your teammates. And listen, we're not in that position. We're not. Unfortunately, we're not. It's been a lax season for us this year. It's been an unfortunate season. But again, that goes with going back to Connor. He's the hardest working kid I know. Like, he works his bag off. Like, he does everything the right way. Like, he wants to get better every single day. He wants to learn. He's an unbelievable kid. He's so nice. He couldn't be nicer. And he's a competitor. And I think we can't take the competitiveness out of him and the game changer he wants to be out of his mentality, because then he's not going to be that player. Like, we don't want Connor Bedard chipping pucks in every shift. We want Connor Bedard making plays, off the rush. But do we want Connor Bedard trying to do that every shift? No, we don't. But that comes with, again, he's 19 years old.
Situational.
It's definitely situational, 100%. So, listen, again, man, like, Connor took it, Leon took it, McKinnon took it, Crosby took it in an early stage of his career. Like, he's taken it a little bit now. That goes with, again, if you're on national TV, big broadcast, you're playing a big time team like we did Florida and Edmonton, that stuff's going to happen. They're going to call out the best players. Do I agree with it? No, absolutely not, because he is my teammate, and I'm going to support Connor as much as I can because he is trying, he is learning. But again, that goes back to my conversation. He's 19 years old. I think people forget he's a kid.
Yeah.
He's 19. He's still learning. It's his second year. Like, this is the hardest league in America. Like, I think people forget, like, you're playing the best on best. He's going to get the best, shutdown line. He's going to play against the best. Like, he played against McDavid all night. Like, that's hard. That's hard. That's not easy.
To say the least, right?
Yeah. That's hard. That's hard. So, like, you guys got to remember, too, and when he's playing against a McKinnon or McDavid or a Crosby, like, he wants to prove it, too. Like, he's that player. So I think we forget I'm not in Connor Bedard's head. I don't know what he thinks. He's a way better player than I'll ever be. Like, he thinks the game way higher than I do. So, like, there's a difference. I can't go into his head and be like, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
But again, we can call him out and be like, hey, you did it once, don't do it again. You got to hold people accountable. McDavid's the same way. We did that too with him. Like, hey, if you're going to do that, it's okay to do it, but don't keep doing it because you're hurting the team, right? And that's what we're trying to grow in Chicago. We're trying to build a playoff team or a team that's, trying to play meaningful games down the stretch. And again, Hank said it. I'm going to repeat myself, but Hank said it. Like, it's hard for teams that aren't playing meaningful games to make the right play.
Yeah.
And, that's hard. And he's taking it right now, but I'm on his side. He's a great kid. He's an even better kid. He's still learning. He's only getting better each game. But, it comes with territory. We're athletes, and unfortunately the best players are going to get called out, and you got to eat it sometimes, right? And he's got to eat these and know that, a microscope's on him right now. Every move he makes, they're going to be pinpointed to him on national TV. And that sucks. That also comes with the business, and you gotta take it the way it is. And maybe he learns from it. I don't know. Maybe these stars learn from stuff like that when they go online and they see it, because I guarantee you, every goddamn player in the NHL sees Twitter and sees team clips and watches it, and they get pissed off. So, I think for me as a young kid, you learn from your mistakes. It's how you respond from it. It's how you grow from it, and how you're going to handle the situation next time you get put in that situation. Are you going to try to do the same thing? Or are you going to, live to fight another day and play for the five guys on the ice and set the next five guys up for success the next shift? And that's the biggest thing. But that's all I have on that. I mean, obviously I feel bad.
Yeah.
Listen,
that's all I have after a 3-minute rant.
Well, no, look, I everything you said is fair. I mean, I feel like one of the reasons it's so great to have you on here, Pat, especially the night after a game, is because we want to ask you and see your raw reaction to these things. So, again, I know I'm, throwing some heat at you today, but we really appreciate the thoroughness and how candid you are with the responses. I think that's what our audience really appreciates about when you come on our show.
Yeah, and I had a lighter topic to bring up, so we're gonna go away from.
But again, like, he's a competitor too. Like, you got to remember too. Like,
Johnny, go in the corner.
He's a competitor, though. Right? They're all competitors. These high athletes are these top end players are competitors. So we forget that too, right? Like, I think humans forget, like, they're just as competitors as the next guy. So, like, they're trying to help the team. He's trying to help the team. He's trying to do the right thing. So. Right. People forget that. sometimes too, you know.
Nobody ever said, "Oh, I can't wait to turn a puck over in the neutral zone." No player in their right mind ever had the intention of turning a puck over. That I promise you.
No, 100%.
Pat, I don't know if we'll have you next week with the break. We're probably going to leave you alone unless you want to come on. That's totally up to you. But I know you're going to Disney World in Florida with the family next week. And from what I've gathered and what you told me, you're a Disney nerd. And I feel like everyone in our chat can relate to being a Disney fan, or at least has hopefully gotten a chance to go there. What are you most excited for in Disney? What ride's your favorite? Are you doing the Around the World at Epcot? What's your plans?
Yeah, with my 3-year-old and pregnant wife. The Goldie's at a great age. She's 3 years old, so she's like buzzing. She watches all the Disney movies. I think last year when we took her in the summertime with my best friend from back home, they flew up and they wanted to go, so we took them. And you know, she kind of realized it a little bit, but I think this time around, I think just the excitement, the joy they get on their face every time they see someone, or Mickey or Minnie, or the princesses. So I really get a kick out of that, the enjoyment and excitement that when they see someone, they're like pumped and they're jacked up, and the smiles on her face. And usually my son comes with me because he loves rides. But we really like the Tron ride and Magic Kingdom. That thing buzzes around. And Guardian of the Galaxies and Epcot is a great ride. But this time around, I'm not riding those rides probably because I'm by myself. So we're going to be riding the Peter Pans and the Pirates of the Caribbean and the Frozen ride, the boat ride. So I'll be dad mode this time around. But yeah, it's obviously a special place, and we love going there. Goldie loves it there, and I grew up going there with my mom and dad and my brothers and sisters. So it's always been a special place for myself, and I always told myself if I ever have kids, I always want to bring them. So I've been bringing Anthony now. I've been bringing Goldie since we live in Tampa now. It's only an hour drive, so it's a place we really enjoy, and we can go there and relax. We're only going to the park one day, so we're not going to get beat. We're not going to get beat up a little bit. Dad's going to try to golf, but yeah, we're just going to kind of chill by the pool. She'll go down the slides and kind of lazy river it up and hang out, and do the park one day and enjoy it. So I'm really looking forward to it. She is for sure. But yeah.
I got 2 words for you. Club 33.
What's that?
Don't worry about it, Johnny. I can tell you
since I was like 7. I'm dying to go back.
In my house, Moana and Elsa are very important over here right now, Patty. We just did Disney on Ice for the first time. And I mean, Elsa and Moana, I mean, it was a very eye-opening experience for my my 2-year-old. But
yeah, Francesca just took Goldie, so she said she loved it. So I mean, listen, like these kids, they freak out over this stuff.
I know, they really do.
They really do. And they have that new Moana theme in Epcot.
Really?
Wherever you get the time in Florida, you should take your kids. I know Shaddy's going. I think we missed Shaddy by 2 days. But JVR is going to be there, and Maddie Martin. So we'll link up with those guys. But
the days of All-Star break in Cabo are in the rear view mirror, Patty. You're going to be carrying a book bag with a couple extra changes of clothes, and you'll have your fanny pack on to make sure that you can hold all of Goldie's stuff. So
no more shots when you're in Cabo and they're coming around and slapping your face and you're going.
Well, look, man, we had a long show today. We had Alex Vlasic on the show on Tuesday.
Get a new pea coat.
He was giving you grief about the gray pea coat, apparently, that you wear too often is the way he put it nicely.
Sorry, Blash, I don't make $4.5 million. You know,
being Alex Vlasic isn't so bad right now.
No, it's not.
What a hockey player he's become. Holy crap!
He's going to be a special player, and like I said, him and Bedsy are going to be the two guys that take over this team, and like they're gonna lead this team. I know they will. They're gonna they're both competitors, and obviously it's the dog days right now. It's frustrating for them, but that's why we're here to help them. Figure out a way to get this team back on track, and and building a culture where they know. So
I'm laughing.
I don't
right
get
now
the reference, but I know that's what you're laughing at.
J Rock in the chat just said Johnny is the chicken from Moana. Johnny,
I've never seen it.
The chicken in Moana is his name is Hey Hey, and he is the dumbest character that has ever been on television.
Yeah, Francesca just came out of the woodworks and goes, hey.
That's hey, the fact that they're saying you're like, hey, Johnny is not a compliment. And then he said that I'm like the angry Kakamora guys, the little angry coconuts. So
what am I then?
I think you're kind of Maui. I think you probably would be Maui. Yeah, that's the Rock. And like I said, we just watched Moana 2 for the first time the other day, and we've since now watched it about 17 times in a week. So
Colby, have we got a heart rate check on Johnny about his New York Rangers?
Dude, they're back. I'm telling you.
Are you wearing the Whoop right now? Like, what's going on? Like, what's your heart rate?
I don't wear the Whoop. But I'll tell you what, if you're willing to move the family, you can stay in my apartment if you get traded here till you find a place, because we'd love to have you here. It's not very nice, but
they went from being the worst team. They're gonna miss the playoffs now. All of a sudden, they're winning the cup with JT Miller.
Oh, listen,
he's valleys, baby.
Johnny's already planning a parade for the New York Rangers. They're gonna win. They're gonna put up a banner if they win the first round of the playoffs this year. They're gonna say first round champions, New York Rangers.
I can see Johnny being on stage if they won the cup.
You make fun. That's like, I'm okay. Sign me up.
Yeah, oh boy! All right, Patty. Listen, we'll let you go. We kept you a long time today. We'll let you get back to being dad here, and I'll tell you, I'll leave you with this. My wife delivered at Northwestern, and the Hawks set us up there. You guys will have a good experience. They take very, very good care of you at Northwestern, so you can tell your better half that it was an amazing experience for us, doing that there in Chicago. Beautiful corner room. You'll get the top end treatment. Don't worry.
That's awesome. Well, she's already getting the top end treatment right now, so it's been great so far.
Good. All right, bud.
Yeah, thanks, Pat.
All right, see you, boys.
Enjoy your break.
What's that, Johnny?
I said, enjoy Disney. We'll talk to you soon. What the fuck?
We'll talk soon. All right, bye.
Bye. Oh, I love that guy. He's the best.
Yeah, he's he look, and I threw a couple fiery ones at him today, but it's like, it's hard not to. There were 3 games last night. They were on national TV, and it's part of why it's great having him, because you don't have to worry about what you ask him. Like, you don't have to worry that Pat's going to be angry that we asked him these questions, because he's got the cachet. Like he knows, and I believed his answers. Like I don't think he was giving us the give 110% speech. Like I believed what he had to say. I believed the way he responded to all that. I thought they were very reasonably well thought out responses to difficult questions about his teammates, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but how do we not ask?
No.
You have to ask.
Yeah. Just crazy sitting here with Mike Eruzione and Pat Maroon on the same show. Like, who would have thought? Like, that's so sick.
Well, I feel like Rizzo's. I told you before the show. I said he's so natural. Like, he's such an easy guy to talk to. What you see is what you get. Like, you just would never know the celebrity that he is. He's just a people person. And I'm glad he cleared that up from the movie, because everybody thinks he's this shy guy that never said 2 words because of the movie. But like, Mike has a presence when he walks in the room. People just come to him. Like, I told a story on the show how I ran into him in Hawaii on my honeymoon, and just holding court with young people. People flock to him. He's a magnet because he's such a people person, and he's got such a great personality. So it was a good day. It was a good day. I hope we had a good audience. Listen, if you haven't hit the like button yet, hit the like button. Today should be our most viewed and liked episode we've ever had. So help us make that happen, Johnny. I don't know what you're laughing at, but
J-Rock just tweeted the chicken at you and I.
That's hey. That's you. You're hey.
But Colby, we have some business to get to. I got to hop off here pretty soon. I'm actually doing a hit on NHL Sirius XM Radio at 10:30. So we got to get to some stuff before we wrap up the week. We are going to get into our Out West worst team of the week, and we'll give everyone a chance to guess in the chat like we always do. But here's a quick word from our sponsor, Out West. And fellas, Valentine's Day is right around the corner. And if you're still scrambling for the perfect gift, we've got you covered. Out West hoodies like the one that I'm wearing right now are 20% off now through Saturday. If you've already picked up a Sakara Performance hoodie, then you know your wife or girlfriend probably has stolen it to lounge in by now. So solve that problem in one easy step. Head over to outwest.us and grab one of these hoodies while the special is still lasting. Use code VD25 at checkout. That's VD, capital VD 25 at checkout to apply this discount. Out West, every game needs an outlaw. And again, we haven't talked about this team in a while. While it could be the Vegas Golden Knights, it's still got to be the Nashville Predators. And I don't know what the hell, if you're Steven Stamkos right now and Jonathan March, so like what are you possibly thinking? And how frustrating can it possibly be right now to be on the Nashville Predators if you're those two guys?
What about if you're the owner and you're the guy who hired Barry Trotz? And listen, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Barry Trotz and what he's done. But he's made a lot of missteps, and I wouldn't call them small missteps. They're expensive missteps with long-term implications. Steven Stamkos at $8 million for 4 years, and Marchessault at $5.5, and they've got no trade clauses, no move clauses. You've got, Brady Shea with $7 million for the next million years. Again, I love Brady, but you've got some really, really expensive things that aren't working out and that you don't have a lot of flexibility or control over. So where do you go from here? Only Gustav Nyquist is a UFA. Luke Evangelista is an RFA. They'll obviously bring him back. And on the back end, Adam Wilsby, like everybody else, is re-signed for at least another year with term. So now Barry Trotz has got to get into a situation where he's got to trade half his roster. Like they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, and look how good Askarov looks. Again, nothing but respect for Barry Trotz, but call a spade a spade. This has not been job well done for him, and they deserve the criticism that's coming their way. They absolutely do. So you can't go wrong with Nashville, who hasn't won a game in a week.
Five straight losses.
So 10 days they haven't won a game. So not pretty right now when you look at where they're at and where they're going. They do have 3 first-round picks this year. Okay, you could probably use that to help you get out of some of the situations that you're in, but certainly not a good thing. So one other thing I do want to mention before we finish this segment, because I forgot to talk about it earlier, Danny Briere from the Philadelphia Flyers on the sheet today. The sheet starts live at 3 p.m. and Jeff will get Danny on the show and go through probably what's going on in Philly and what the future holds for the Philadelphia Flyers and the way that they're moving forward. So I did want to mention that. I forgot to talk about it earlier in the show, and I just remembered. But that's it. Worst team of the week, Nashville Predators. Danny Briere on the sheet at 3.
Must watch Danny Briere today.
Worst team of the week, best hit of the week. Maybe, So
sure, we'll roll with that.
I'm not the creative one, as we both know.
It's okay, but next order of business, and for all the haters in the chat, I see J-Rock and Bill Beck saying stuff. Better Than Night is 3-0 this week. So I think Vic is the bad juju. With Vic gone, suddenly we're undefeated.
Is
And
Vic
tonight,
gone? Where's Vic?
He's on his honeymoon.
I didn't even notice he was gone.
Oh, you didn't notice? You didn't notice his 100 Instagram stories a day, but won't answer our texts?
Well, that was what I was thinking about that. The guy can post on Instagram every 12 seconds.
Won't answer our texts.
But he hasn't responded to Johnny or I in 3 days.
I even responded to his Instagram and he won't answer that.
Did he read it?
I don't know. I didn't look.
I feel like his wife probably is
shut your brain off.
It's probably like, no, you're not allowed to respond.
Yeah.
That's messed up though, that he is ignoring us and then posting on Instagram. But you're you're pretty used to being ghosted.
I know. I actually sent a girl a DM last night and I asked her out on Tuesday and she hasn't responded. So.
Did she read it or
she hasn't read it yet? But it's like
She's
one of those
obviously
things.
Seen it.
It's one of those things where like I've seen that you've been active. Like either just say no or.
Do you follow her? Does she follow you?
Yeah, we follow each other.
Oh, so it didn't go into her spam and she still just didn't open it. So
I don't know what's going on with me. I have no idea.
She previewed it and didn't even put you on, leave you on red.
Yeah, I know. And Jeff, if Jeff's still in the chat, he knows how I feel. I blame myself for my hockey career, but I blame Colby for my lack of, you know what.
Oh, wow. Zach Phillips, producer extraordinaire of the sheet and Leafs Morning Take, just said that Vic has been texting about Leafs Morning Take.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
We gotta get into our bet of the night because I do got to hop in like a minute.
Wow.
So our bet of the night tonight, we're going with the Columbus Blue Jackets home dogs money line against the Utah Hockey Club. Columbus has lost 2 in a row, but they were just on a 4-game road trip. They're coming back home, after being on the road for quite some time. They are money on home ice as well. Columbus's home ice record this year is 17-5-3. They're a much better team at home than they are against the road. Whereas the Utah Hockey Club, I know they're coming off a big overtime win, but they have lost 4 out of their last 5 games, actually 5 out of the last 6 games. So right now, Columbus getting them at plus 130, really good value on home ice tonight. And we're hoping to close out the week with a perfect 4-0 record. And Colby, I think you have one more thing to say before we wrap it up. Again, I do have a hard off in like literally a minute. So let's get this thing rolling here.
Well, I was hoping we could tee up that tweet that we never showed yesterday from James Van Riemsdyk. Well, it's not a tweet from him. It's a photo that he showed me. We all know what he's been going through, 35 stitches, a bunch of teeth coming out of his mouth. Didn't miss a game, came back and played the next game in the fishbowl, had an assist. Do we have that teed up? There it is.
Well done, Andy.
So, just gives you a little bit of insight into what he's been dealing with. A bunch of root canals. All right, you can take it off the screen now. We don't have to leave it on for too long for people, but a bunch of root canals, a bunch of missing teeth. This is a guy who just pays a price, stands in front of the net. But I did want to show you guys that, obviously, friend of the show. Great job in the audience today. We know we didn't get to a ton of your questions with Rizzo, but we wanted to let those guys just kind of go. Give us a like and a subscribe on the episode, as we always ask you do. It was a great week for the show. A lot of good guests. Next week will be a little bit different with 4 Nations, but we'll get to that on Monday. Johnny, have a good weekend. Be careful. The sidewalks are a little slippery, and who knows? Maybe you'll meet the one today, Johnny. I know you've been striking out a lot. Probably won't happen. But anyways, great job all week. Vic, we hope your honeymoon is going terribly if you're listening for not responding to us. 3 p.m. today, Danny Briere on the sheet. Other than that, as always, have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll see everybody 9 a.m. Monday morning. Thanks, you.
Love you guys.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.